Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, in the previous video we have been expanding this whole idea of the nature of, from the Islamic perspective, of how we see ourselves in terms of our consciousness, in terms of our psycho-spiritual personality, in terms of our existence, and the whole idea that there is this three level of the self, and there is this whole idea there is three level of understanding of the nature of the self, as well as consciousness at the coherence level, coherence synergy level, and coherence synergy and integration level, at this three level, and how we relate it to the nature of Islamic studies, Islamic philosophy of how we can transcend the physical world at the brain level, all right, and moving towards the perfection of the self through the practice of Islam, moving from nafsul lawamah to nafsul mutmainnah, and then free ourselves from all psychosocial problems, and free ourselves from the need of worry about this dunya, and that we can then transcend and reach the highest level of achievement, that we have the completion of our iman, peace, joy, happiness, fulfillment, all that we yearn for as human beings is there for us, because Allah has given us the infinite possibilities of achieving all this goodness that is given to us as a gift from His divine grace, love and mercy. So there will be a two type of perspective that we have to see here, because if you look at the perspective of the secular modern world today, even they are rejecting this whole idea of even the heart. All right, for example, if you look at the United States, where they have this Institute of Mental Health or Institute of Health and other governmental bodies, their focus is always on the brain only. Are they right? Because they are moving towards finding solution using, for example, drugs. So they're putting a lot of emphasis on overcoming, for example, anxiety or depression or schizophrenia through drugs-related research and development, and they have advanced. We are not denying that, but there is this philosophical dichotomy. There is this variance. Are we going to take the brain-only model? Notwithstanding now, the sciences are proving even that the heart has neurons, and now they have this neurocardiology, a new field. But even the scientific circle of many top research institutes in America and Europe is not taking even cognizance of that. They are talking about only the brain. All right, so I'm going to give you one video to show you this variation, or the reluctance to accept anything new. All right, it may take many years for us to actually bring this whole idea of holistic human brain, mind, heart, spiritual model. All right, but as I say, we are not throwing the baby with the bathtub. We acknowledge the many research that is being done in brain sciences, even from the perspective of the brain, and then I will elaborate a little bit further after this short video, inshallah.
Inner workings. Here we explore the neurobiological basis of higher brain function. Previously, we examined how individual brain cells communicate through specialized connections called synapses. Now we can begin the fascinating look into how groups of neurons work together. Interconnected groups of neurons in the brain are responsible for higher order thinking and complex behavior. Through investigating the brain on the chemical, functional, and anatomical level, scientists unravel the vast power of the brain in health as well as disease. Neurotransmitters are chemicals that give rise to our everyday life, our actions, our moods, and our behaviors. The chemicals pass from neuron to neuron via synapses. Within the synapse, the glucose metabolism of the mitochondria and the electrical impulse of the action potential cause the vacuoles to intersect with the cellular wall and release neurotransmitters between junction membranes. Different functions and behaviors are localized in certain brain regions. Using this knowledge, the brain's many different mental functions can be broken down into more easily approachable elements. By looking at these smaller parts of brain regions and activities, a more comprehensive understanding of overall brain function can be built. For example, the circuits involved in vision receive information from the retina. After initial processing, these circuits analyze information in different streams so that there's one stream of information describing what the visual object is, and another stream is concerned with where the object is in space. Once function is understood in the less complicated elements of brain organization, then this information can be reassembled to help understand the workings of the whole brain. Laboratory rats guide researchers to form a better understanding of complicated brain processes. For example, studying the rat within a maze helps uncover general principles about learning that can be applied to many species, including humans. Rats are good at remembering where things are and how to get them. Here the rat has learned how to find a tasty treat each time he walks around the triangular maze. But there's a catch. He has to turn in the maze in the opposite direction from the last try in order to get his treat. First left, then right, then left, then right. Using sophisticated techniques, it's possible to listen to the sounds of groups of brain cells firing before the rat makes his left-right decisions. Listen how the neurons fire very quickly just before he makes his turns. That is the sound of his brain cells remembering where the treat is and where to get it. The lessons learned from the rat can be used to understand a similar process in the human brain. To do that, scientists can use technologies developed in recent decades such as functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI. This allows the imaging of functional activity in the living brain. The fMRI machine makes it possible to take pictures of activity within a living brain. This is not a picture of the neurons or pathways, but instead it's an image of the activity occurring among those neurons and pathways. This is an indirect approach as it uses a marker for neuronal firing. In this case, it detects blood flow and blood oxygenation to provide maps of brain activity. We can see the localized increases in blood flow as the brain capillaries expand in size. Blood flows more rapidly through a larger tube. This increase can be used to map brain activity in response to specific tasks and stimuli, like remembering. As with all other organs, the brain is subject to malfunction. Complex problems like understanding depression and schizophrenia can now be addressed using these and other techniques. Here's an example of the kind of information we get when comparing the brains of normal and mentally ill people. The image on the left is from a normal subject. On the right is a schizophrenia patient, where we can see the vast differences in the amount and location of brain activity. Clearly, several systems, including higher cognitive processes, hearing and movement, are impacted in this disease. Imaging provides a way to identify how the brain processes information differently in schizophrenia. As scientists are learning more about brain circuitry, they are learning more about which circuits are involved with specific tasks. This makes it possible to compare brain regions in healthy people and people with mental illnesses. However, mental disorders are very complicated and still not well understood. These disorders affect our most complex brain processes, like thinking, mood, and behavior. There are several factors that contribute to mental illnesses, including environmental conditions, social events, genetics, and large chemical imbalances. What is clear is that mental illnesses are as devastating as any physical illness. Ultimately, basic and clinical research will unlock the mysteries of mental illnesses.
Alhamdulillah, you can see this is a video developed by the United States government to promote mental health and mental awareness. So the thing is, basically, if we look at the whole idea, we have an analogy of consciousness, because these are two schools of thoughts or two philosophical ideas in which we are now having what I call it, a battle. They have this idea that the brain is everything. This is the model, that the brain is everything. And the second one is the brain is just a TV receiver. If we take the circular model, that the brain is everything, even at this level, they are not thinking about the heart. They are not talking about the heart here. The heart here is also not taken into account. All right. So what they do is, just like in the video, they will do a MRI, functional MRI, and then they will see various parts of the brain, and then they will see that this part of the brain is functioning, this part of the brain is not functioning. All right. Then they will say, okay, this person has anxiety, this person has depression, this person has bipolar, this person has, for example, in that case, schizophrenia. So they do it by probe. That means they probe or using fMRI, PET scan, EEG, and also they do surgery and ablation. They can, through animal model, they can do that. Even human being who has certain diseases, they have certain problems, accident or whatever, where the vein, the part of the brain is being destroyed, they can study that. All right. So to them, whatever is in the brain, that's it. It is that is an analogy is the brain as a TV station and transmitter. That means everything that is the body is receiving is from the brain. It goes to the heart, it goes to the lung, it goes to the all the organs, your skin and everything. All right. So this is all based on the secular atheistic model of consciousness. All right. So, but there are now new research saying, okay, now you have the brain, you have the heart, you have the brain in the heart. But that, even then, in most studies, even in the European studies for the study a decade of, for example, brain sciences, they are actually not acknowledging that. So, for example, there will be a team of scholars and professors in the universities that are working on this, but their ideas are just removed. Because why? The drug companies that are selling all kinds of psychotropic drugs, drugs for all kinds of psychological problems, is the main sponsor. So they are not interested in the heart, because they cannot money from the understanding that your mood, your behavior and all that can come from the heart, or even can come from a higher level thinking. Their highest level of thinking is basically the brain. So their model, their analogy, the brain as a TV station and transmitter, is all in the body and nothing more to it. So your consciousness is all within you, and that is the model of science. Brain science today, remember, this is going to be a long drawn battle. It's not something that we can say tomorrow it will be resolved, because we are facing a lot of resistance from the drug companies, because they are producing billions and billions and billions of dollars of profit by prescribing drugs. So they are not interested in any other model. But what is the holistic model that a lot of the right thinking people are now progressing? So that is the Islamic model that we are trying to promote. The analogy is the brain is only a TV receiver. It receives the signal. So if you have a TV station, right? Your LCD or your old TV set, where does it get its signal? Its signal comes from outside. That means consciousness is not only inside, it's outside. It is coming into the TV station, all right? This TV set, this TV set, all right? It's reading the signal. The signal when you see the pictures. All right? When you see the pictures, it's just like what they do the fMRI, but that doesn't prove that the signal comes only from the brain. All right? So consciousness is beyond the brain, because consciousness is coming also from the heart. Consciousness is also coming from the Islamic perspective. Consciousness, our consciousness is coming from many levels. Our C here, our capital C here is coming from a level. That means it's coming from the heart. It's coming from the, before that it's coming from the mind. It's coming from the heart. It's coming from the spirit. So this is the signal that is actually impinging on us from many levels. So we are not saying that the physical manifestation of this is wrong. It is right to a extent because the physical body is part of the system. So our physical body is part of this whole system. So our whole system consists of our organs, consists of our brain, consists of our heart. All right? Our heart, the physical heart and the intuitive heart consists of the brain and plus the mind and so on, which I've explained in the previous video. So this is the model, the analogy of consciousness. Is it in the brain or more than the brain? All right? And this debate is going to go on and on and on. There will be a lot of research. But alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, which of them are winning? This side is winning now. That the brain is just a TV receiver. It's just receiving signal. And that signal can come internally within the brain, externally from the mind, from the heart, internally from the physical heart, also externally from the intuitive heart, and from the realm of the spirit, which is all mentioned in the understanding of the theology of Islam. Very deep understanding. So now they have reached the level of the heart, but most of the research institutions and all the governmental bodies in Europe and in America, they are not accepting this. So they are discounting this. They are saying everything is in the brain, and they are working towards one direction. But inshallah, slowly but surely, we can promote this holistic idea and Islamic model of psychology. Because that is the truth. That is the totality of our existence. We are not just a physical being living in a physical world. We are a spiritual being temporarily living in a physical world, and we will return to our spiritual state. Beyond the quantum entanglement, beyond the quantum state, beyond whatever that you can ever imagine. There is a realm of existence that is beyond space and time. A realm of existence that is so beautiful, so permanent, that it is eternal. No time, no space, no worry, no fear, no psychological problems, but that is filled with joy, happiness, fulfillment, achievement, success, and all that every human being yearns. So that would be the idea, the way forward. This is a long journey, but I hope by giving you some idea of this analogy, if you take that the brain is only is a TV station and the transmitter is all, or the brain as only a receiver, and we are receiving signal from many levels of existence, many realms of existence, both positive and negative, and we can understand how to absorb the positive energy and try to avoid or discard the negative energy from whatever level, whether it is from the perspective of the electromagnetic energy, the perspective of the quantum energy, the perspective of the unified field force, or whatever they want to name it, because there's a lot of names here. These people are using a lot of names. Or is for Islam is whether from the realm of the spiritual that Allah has ordained, both positive and negative, and how we are going to achieve the fulfillment of our life as His true and sincere servant, as His Khalifa on this earth. Remember the concept of our life, always being the Khalifa of Allah, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, making the world good, inshallah.